Welcome to the second part of this ADePT Design Builder demonstration. As we mentioned in the last demonstration, while you can define a project from scratch, including all of the activities, project codes and logic, there's an easier way to get to a starting work breakdown structure, and that's by using the generic project wizard that's included in the software. I'm going to open the Builder menu, select New, and now click on Project Wizard and type in the name of our project. The wizard works by asking a series of questions around each discipline to more closely match the initial WBS with your specific project, which I'll quickly go through now. You may be designing a building with multiple floors, for example, or with a number of different cladding types or facade features. You may have piling or retaining walls to consider. This part of the wizard guides you through these project questions, and this often proves to be a useful starting point for a cross-disciplinary meeting so that all of the designers on a project have a shared understanding of how the building is going to be designed. When we've worked through the 30 or so questions, we click Finish, and you can see that a complete WBS is generated for us across all disciplines. This WBS contains the systems that we defined in the project wizard, but by clicking on an activity, we can also see that an initial estimation of durations and logic that links all of the activities in the WBS has also been provided for us. It's worth pointing out that even though we've used the wizard to create this WBS, this isn't the finished article. It's a draft version that will need to be tweaked for each specific project, including terminology, exact durations and sequence. Along with the logic and durations, we can see that the wizard has created a number of project codes, such as discipline and project stage for us, that will carry into a programming tool, and these can easily be used for sorting or filtering the activities that you want. As an example of the changes we typically see being made, I'm going to use the Find and Replace function to change the building cladding section to a more project-specific brickwork section. These sorts of terminology changes allow the design consultants to be much more familiar with the program when it's issued. I'm now going to click on the View Sequence tab to open up a matrix view of the project. In this view, you only see the activities in the WBS, not the headings, and there's an implied timeline running down the activity list on the left-hand side. At present, these activities are simply in the order that they occur in the WBS. The matrix makes up the right half of the screen, with A's, B's or C's indicating where there are links between activities and the criticality of these links. As an example, very simply, we can see that the 10th activity, Agree Space Allocation of Major Plant Spaces, requires a critical piece of information from the 3rd activity, Estimate Space Allocation of Major Plant Rooms, and so on. I'm not going to go into any more detail here about interpreting this matrix, but if you're interested in learning more, please give us a call. I'm now going to press the Optimize button, and we can immediately see that this changes things significantly. This button tells the software to sequence all of the activities in the WBS in such a way as to make any predecessors for an activity occur prior to that activity's start. This way, we're trying to make sure that we have all of the information required available to us before we actually start that task. You can see that the sequence of tasks has changed now. The Estimate Space Allocation of Major Plant Rooms activity that was at position 3 initially is now 19th in the sequence. More importantly, it's occurring in this large block that we can see on the matrix. This block represents a series of design activities that are so tightly interdependent with each other that it's impossible to put them into a simple sequence. Programming and scheduling tools commonly refer to these areas as linked loops or circular relationships and insist that you change the logic before rescheduling the program, but that isn't really the way design occurs. In reality, it's necessary to have a certain amount of iteration in some parts of design, and Design Builder allows you to allocate time for these iterations to occur into your program. If I open up the Edit Blocks tab, we can see that in this generic project there are 11 areas of iteration of varying size. Some are only a couple of activities that will ideally be developed in parallel, maybe in a single workshop, while others contain many activities that are interdependent. If we really want to reduce the size of these blocks, and therefore the potential time spent in iteration, we'll have to alter the logic that links these activities. But rather than doing this arbitrarily and without any rationale, as conventional project management software tries to make us do, in Builder we make these changes in a targeted manner with agreed reasoning behind it. For example, I'll try and reduce the size of this block that currently has 28 activities in it. I'll click on Tear Analysis, and the software identifies all of the logical links in the block, as well as the impact that removing or tearing a link will have. In this first case, for example, that single block would be reduced to 3 much smaller blocks that are potentially much easier to manage with the rest of the activities being sequenced normally if I can break one piece of logic. That said, while the software will try to guide us to links that have an effect on a block, those decisions to actually change the logic must be done with rationale behind them, and they must go into a project risk register, or we run the risk of changing these decisions again later in the project. That's why the software will ask for a justification when you apply any tears. I'm not going into a lot of detail on blocks, their impacts on program, or the methods of resolution, but if you do want any more explanation, feel free to send us an inquiry. After we've gone through a process of verifying the WBS for our specific project, and we're comfortable with the blocks of iteration that are left in the sequence, we can put this into a programming tool and issue it as a live program. To do this, we open the Builder menu, select Synchronize, and choose which planning tool we want to write to. As you can see, at the moment we have a choice of Asta Power Project or Primavera versions 5 or 6, either on a network or a standalone client. For this demonstration, I'll export to Asta. We now have a choice to either create a new program or to connect to an existing one that we've created previously. For now, I'll leave it as a new project and select where to save the file to. We then tell the software to find what changes need applying. This works both ways, so that if we've made changes in the programming tool, we can write those changes back into ADePT Builder. This two-way communication is why we refer to this process as synchronization, rather than just a simple export. As you can see, the software's found just over 7,500 changes that need to be made to a blank project file in order to add all of the information that we've created. We select Apply these changes to the external project and click Apply. Over the next several minutes, the software will create an Asta file for us with all of those changes in it, which when opened will look like this. From here, we can simply tidy up the presentation of the program and apply whatever sort we'd like before rescheduling the program. In this case, I'm using a sort that shows the activities in the same order as the WBS that was generated earlier, with some different colours for the various disciplines. You'll notice that I don't need to apply any coding to the activities. These have all been carried over from the Builder software. Once that's done, I can reschedule my program and we're ready to issue it. Or, as mentioned previously, we can make any changes that occur during the life of the project and synchronize those back into Builder to assess the impacts that any changes might have. I hope you found these demonstrations useful, even though we've only covered the most basic functionality of the software. As always, if you have any questions or would like to arrange a presentation or training about how to use Design Builder software on your projects, please give us a call.